in HD video on our YouTube channel, and with high-quality audio only at Spreaker.com. The views expressed in the following show are of the host, the guest, and the callers. The content of the following show, its accuracy, authenticity, and the ramifications of the use or application of said content is the responsibility of those speaking and listening, not the broadcast medium.
All right, we are back live. Beat to the Fire. I'm your host, James, after the Ancheck, the Black Knight Talk Radio. I guess the voice is back. Now I'm doing a bunch of stuff here, so there we go. Okay. I didn't get confirmation the stream was going, and I was a little nervous there. But we are live on Spreaker, live on YouTube, HD or otherwise. And it is Feet to the Fire Radio live. How many times I get live in there? There was a broadcaster, I don't know, 70s, 80s, maybe 90s in Chicago, sports guy. Ed Kopic. Maybe he moved around the country. He was noted for saying live like 1,000 times. So that's probably where I picked that up. Less Visible will be here at about 7:15. We've checked everything. It's working. I only got a few things to say, and we'll bring Lester on. I like using the name Lester and all that stuff, but it is Less Visible. I guess it's a reference to he must increase his ISO decrease. We'll see. I'll probably ask that. We'll be taking questions in the live chat room and YouTube, also in Spreaker. You can always send an email to James at feettothefireradio.com. And you can call in at 888-863-2722, though that has kind of faded away along with the digital age and so on. But that's the deal. Now, I got a couple of things. I even made a list because of my Norman. I don't know. I don't know. People like to hear the last name or not. Maybe they don't want to be. Is that you? Oh no, I can't believe. So Norman is the first guy, presumed anyway, to be the first person to go to Patreon. I know one of the people in the chat room, I don't remember who it was, suggested I do that. I'm not big at trying to get money and so on, but I sure like it when I do. So first contributor to that, so thank you, Norman. I do have some, let's see, I do have some, I'm trying, it was trouble trying to figure who to have on here. It was a last-minute deal. Les happened to be around, so that was good. But I was trying to hook up to set up a show to talk about some of the, again, kind of related to the hospital stuff, but it's not, it's not just boring personal stuff like family albums. It's topical. So we'll see if we can work that out next week or beyond. The actual news of the week, it's like, okay, same stuff, but same stuff, New World Order, the cabal, the hoopla, the Gila, and all this stuff going wild. And if you have particular questions on particular things, you can let me know. But as I perused the news stuff, one thing that did catch my mind. Now he's not here yet. So let me turn off his window. Well, whatever. Let me just go with this. An open secret. Now, I happen to listen to, turned on, I do in the truck. I got a lot of the time in the truck as I'm driving along. Let me turn it. Now, I do this, cruising around and so on. So I listen to streaming music when I can, or not music, but video. Looking for one picture over here. See, I'm terrible at doing things all at once. Gosh darn. It bothered me. Well, it actually is. So I was cruising around, and I put on Alex Jones' show, which I like the information on there. Like most places, it's marketing itself, and you have to look at of course, they have to expand, and they got reporters. I understand it. I'm not going to go and defend or attack anything like that. But I tuned it on, and there was a guy on, and I don't know if it's Esponda was his name. He was one of the guys. There's several guys who were involved in this. They made, let me just see if I can open this up. They made a movie. Understanding what he says, it was like a good budget movie. I mean, it was not like a guy with a camcorder, right? And they entered it in many film festivals, and it was refused. He talked about being harangued, harassed. He tried to get financing. Nobody would do it, and so on. His allusion is that it was because of the topic, which is Hollywood child sexual abuse. And I have not seen it yet. It's on Vimeo right now, free. Alex Jones had it on his website free. If that's still there, you can go to Infowars.com to find it. And in this particular movie, they go into very much detail. They actually have people who harassed them in Hollywood. I'm understanding one guy broke down and confessed. Taking it at face value at this point, I have not watched it, but I wanted to mention it because there is... it's supposed to be done rather well, and the gentleman who was on Alex Jones speaking for the production staff mentioned that it was quite informative, like not just, yeah, I heard this and some secretive, this, that. I mean, it's supposed to really nails it, which is why apparently it's being resisted by the Hollywood establishment. Surprise, right? So it's called An Open Secret. This is a PG-13 version, which makes me think there might be an R version. Perhaps they have film to proof or something. I don't know. I actually forgot. I was going to get it all set up to have a little bit better talk about it, and I frankly forgot. And when I was getting ready here, I saw that you moved. Oh, that's right. So either try Infowars.com or... try this Vimeo. I'll look for the link for Infowars, but here's the, it doesn't show the link. I mean, it's Vimeo.com 142444429. 1424429, but I'll put the link below. So that is one of the things there. Go back to, I actually, I'm a lot better as far as that, but I'm still very weak. I was working in the truck yesterday. I should have just did nothing, and I had to do 1/3 of what I was planning. But I still feel pretty good, and I just got to build up strength, I guess. I tell you, for those people who are planning a 10-day hospital visit, get ready to get knocked on your butt as far as strength goes. Plus, I don't know if the other factors were involved. Let me turn this now to this, and we're going to go to Facebook. That's the show for today. There was something I did post. Where did it go? Did they take it away already? Here it is. Rob Devin is a friend of mine. He also is a guy involved with some streaming media. We've had him on several times. He's up about as far as they let you live in Canada before they give you a test. See if you're like alien to take the environment. But he brought up some good points on this post. When he was 10, the only person that had cancer was great aunt Hilda, and she was 70. He went to college. 2 of his kids, his schoolmates, had cancer. He wants people to look up, Google Sydney, Nova Scotia tar ponds. And then when he was in his early 20s, he watched the news say 1 in 5 Canadians will have cancer. When he was in his 30s, it started with a family member, then my mom, then my aunt, and then my friends. At the end of my 30s, I had lost 4 close friends, including my best friend and co-founder of Jungle Apocalypse, longtime podcast. I think it's still running. By the way, he goes back quite a ways in the whole thing, the whole internet. Go on, investigations. And in the 40s, now he's in his 40s, they're telling me that 1 in 2 Canadians will diagnose with cancer. It seems every time I turn around, someone else has a brain tumor, stomach tumor, whatever. Is this the population reduction strategy of William Cooper warned about? You could toss in GMOs. You can toss in the increase in the bio BS stuff that they do. You know, who knows? You know, all the vaccines, the flus, the... Now, you know, I got vaccinated as a kid. You know, I think I had the mumps, I had chickenpox, I had measles. I actually had the diseases. I think I got vaccinated for polio, which was still pretty fresh in everyone's mind. And, gosh, there was one other one. And it's not that vaccines are wrong and don't work. You can tweak the immune system so that when the real disease comes, they already are halfway there with the antibodies. There's no question about that. The problem seems to be when you go to school now as a kid, you got like 60 vaccinations you take like from on age 2 or something. And it's like, are they all good? Did it all work? All right, let's assume they are. What about the stuff they have in them? So, I mean, it's not that we're looking at vaccines are bad. It's modern vaccines have bad things that either nefarious or for profit or just stupid or whatever. So that, let me just throw that in there. But that's where the problem with this cancer stuff. You want to know why is it increase? And I believe, I'm saying it's top of my head, and from memory, I could be mistaken, but I believe the statistics worldwide is it's worse here than other places. Now, in the same breath, you have extending a life expectancy. Now, I don't know. That's a prediction. So I don't know, you know, if that's fictional or whatnot. So you have extended life positions. You have higher quality variety of foods, but then inside that mix, you have the GMO joker, as well as the corporate farming and, you know, the toxins in the fertilizer and weed killer and so on. Well, you know, that kind of thing starts to get going. I also mentioned I'm thinking of taking down the left extremist point. You know, I just don't have time to handle what I'm doing in it. So I don't know if you could give it to somebody. I don't know. Maybe it's not worth it. But somebody can email me and let me know. We'll get that going. There is what I do find fascinating is that I go on stuff now and I see what's happening is seems like everything is really, really, really a buzz. I mean, this whole deal with Las Vegas, people are so aware of this stuff now that there's so much stuff coming out about it. Right away, boom, all this stuff's happening. So it's almost like all their plans are failing in the sense of there's too many people onto them. You know, there's a number of ways how it could have happened, and there might be more plausible ones. There might be implausible ones. There might be some that take a lot of amazing planning. You know, I just heard something recently. Maybe somebody could send me an email or post or something on Facebook or whatever, is that there are people filming the concert, both from the professional as well as amateurs, and that there was no actual footage. I had to turn their cameras in or something. I don't know. It sounds hard for me to believe that they confiscated every single camera from every single person there. Now, obviously they didn't, but they got a lot of them so that when they got their cameras back, it was missing. I mean, those kind of things I need to know more about than just simply have somebody post it and say it, because that's a little hard. I mean, I'm not going to knock it out. I'm not going to say no, because that would be as bad as somebody just saying yes either. But I don't know. Maybe we'll get around to having somebody on there who can, maybe one of you might be interested. So let me know on that. But before I get too lost and rambling on here, I'm going to try and get Mr. Visible on. Go to the main cam. All right, let me give him a call. He's going to come on directly live. It might take a second for the video to catch up. There he is, live on Feet to the Fire for the umpteenth time, less visible. How are you doing, bro?
I'm doing pretty well, except there's no Lester in my name.
You know, that's a habit of mine. You know, Lester,
Okay.
you know. Sorry about that.
You know what I just went through? 15 minutes of utter purgatory when everything in my cam and everything went crazy. I had to reboot 3 times. I had to uninstall all other video programs I had in order to be here right now dealing with you.
Well, I appreciate the effort.
Is it worth it? We'll see.
So now are you allowed to speak of your whereabouts?
Yeah, I'm in Fiji.
Okay. How's the weather?
It's pretty good. Can you hear the waves out there? They're amazing. I'm in the Southwest.
I guess in a way, well, I guess Fiji's kind of northwest, but Fiji's kind of in the southwest. Isn't that what I would imagine, isn't it?
Certainly southwest of here.
Well, we enjoy hearing your comments and have heard them for many years. I have archives over the place that has the audio ones, and the video ones are a little more elusive for me to archive, but they're on your site, your website, your YouTube site, and of course they're in the show here. So over the years we've talked a lot of things. You know, the last I don't know year plus it's been Mr. Apocalypse, etc. And
Sure.
I remember asking the last time we were on where you thought we were on the apocalyptical dot on the timeline, if there is such a thing. And
There is.
I would imagine you would agree that we're closer than then, say a year ago, but what about going forward?
Okay, here's my take on it. Mr. Visible, I'm sorry, Mr. Apocalypse.
Well, we're the same in a way.
There's a Freudian slip. Anyway, Mr. Apocalypse is exponential and incremental in a sense of time collapsing on itself. In other words, it gets quicker and quicker, faster and faster from each point. In a way, it's like the way they measure earthquakes. Every 10th% of movement, okay, seems to be 10% more than the one before it. You know about that?
Yeah, right. It's kind of like a logarithmic scale.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's what we're dealing with right now. And the reason I know we're coming to critical mass right now is because in this town in Texas now, they are making people sign an oath, basically, that they will not boycott Israel or speak negatively about Israel, or they can't get any hurricane relief funds.
Really?
Fact. Yes, fact. Dickinson, Texas. Look it up. And and also in Kansas, they're doing the same thing. Some woman, the ACL, strangely enough, because they're tribe financed, they came along and are now defending this woman because they won't let her take a teacher training program unless she signs an agreement that she won't boycott Israel. Now, as far as I know, I don't know of anyone recently that's made any kind of a push to boycott Israel. So my thought is these reverse Kabbalists know that something is coming very soon, and they're trying to do everything they can, all right, to stop what's coming because they can see ahead of time. There you go.
Yeah. Texas City requires no Israel boycott for hurricane relief.
Yeah.
This is kansascity.com. It's not like some, fringe thing. Here's Washington Post. If your politics are right, so bingo. I mean, not that I doubted you, but I like putting the links up for people, too.
Sure. I don't lie anyway. I mean, I might exaggerate on occasion, but I have a suspicion that I don't exaggerate nearly enough these days. In fact, I'd say I'm more reserved than anything else.
I'm getting updating the screen capture, so keep going there. There we go.
Yeah. Feel free.
Got to see your... You know,
I'm below you.
I gotta have a talk with my crack engineer staff here. They're getting a little shoddy. Wow,
It's wonderful to be schizophrenic, isn't it?
now how is that? And even NPR is doing this. How is that even possible to say that? I mean, I don't get that. How can that not be challenged in court and like laughed out of court?
It's a constitutional violation. It's impossible to be able to do that. The Supreme Court has already ruled on this, okay? This is out of control. Obviously, heavy pressure is being put on people to do things for which there is absolutely no basis of legal support for what they're doing. That's how crazy it is. And that's why when you ask me about Mr. Apocalypse, I'm telling you, these people can look into the future at a certain level, and they know it's about to go really nuts on them. And that's why they're doing all of this. And the other stuff they're doing, like the Las Vegas attack and a few other things, to keep people's attention off the fact that there's a rising tide of outrage over what certain groups of people are doing to the greater mass of human beings.
Wow. The one thing about I see this is when Trump got in, you know, Trump appeared to be buddy with Israel, or at least Netanyahu and those others.
So it seemed.
Yeah. So I mean, do you have any kind of insights? You think that this is they're playing him, he's playing them, they're playing each other? There's more cards under the table on Trump's side than it appears? I mean,
okay. I think that they were never so outraged or surprised as when that reincarnation of Elizabeth Bathory did not get into the presidency. They spent 8 years with Obama trying to create a communist infrastructure here in this country, trying to make perversity normal and normal illegal. Hillary was supposed to come in and do the coup de grace. Suddenly, out of nowhere comes Trump. One of the most bumbling, ineffectual individuals I've ever seen. He really tried to do the right thing for a long time. Tried to bend over backwards for these people. But these people, you can't bend over backwards for them unless you break your back while you're doing it. It just doesn't happen. Where he is in the mix right now, I couldn't tell you. But I will say this. He has in his own mind a sense of integrity. It is why he goes against things and gets pilloried in the press while doing it. I'm not fond of him anymore because I think they got something on him, and he can no longer act according to the way that he promised he would. But whatever the case may be, you have to understand that God is using everything in existence as a chess piece, okay? And those people who think that they control the chessboard, and those people who are on the chessboard, those people who are being affected, those people who think they're doing the affecting, they're all just pawns in the game. God is in complete and absolute control of existence, always has been, always will be. Not a sparrow falls, that the Lord does not mark it nor permit it. This I know and believe. Others are free to believe what they like. So from my position, it doesn't really matter what Trump is in truth doing, not doing, what they are doing, what they're not doing, because everything that everyone is doing is an expression of the will of God for the purpose of demonstration. And we are here watching it happen.
Let me ask you kind of a philosophical question on that. Coming from a fundamentalist background,
yes.
I'm familiar with the terms will of God. Is it? Can I express the will of God in that there is a free will in humans, perhaps a gift, that is being used as a chess pieces, and whatever we choose will be used by God for whatever purpose, as opposed to God making you do it?
That's not how I see free will. Here's how I see free will, and
okay.
I don't usually just say unequivocally that I'm absolutely certain I'm right. But in this one regard, I will say I'm absolutely certain I'm right. There's no such thing as free will. Here's what free will is. You have the right to oppose the will of God. You have the right to go along with the will of God. And that's all that there ever is of free will.
All right. Well, I mean, I can work with that. I mean, it's not that God needs my permission here, but I mean, I can work with that because the idea is, it seems that everything that makes God be greater or better, a better example. I mean, he's beyond our description, behind our understanding, everything like that. But
absolutely.
When I look at it and say, if God programmed the chess pieces to do what he said, that's pretty good. But if he can allow the chess pieces to, let's use your term, to either go along with the program or not, and still, along with that, still the board moves forward and it ends up like he planned anyway, I think that would be a greater example of God than simply having like robots.
Well, let me clarify that a little bit better, okay?
Okay.
Now, there's also this, okay? The Almighty, the Ineffable God, the Divine, whatever name or term you want to give to it, has uppermost in its consciousness the best possible result for all of us. It's not like God says, I'm going to use you this way and that way, and I don't care what you think or how you feel about it. No, not at all. God's position is, I'm going to try to bring you to the highest and most perfect expression of yourself that you can possibly achieve to. And if you work contrary to this, you have that freedom and that right. But I am still going to try to bring you to the finest, most powerful and clear expression of yourself that it is possible for you to achieve. Do you see what I'm saying? He's not just using you as a chess piece. He's trying to bring you to your own finest and most perfect state of fulfillment. You can go contrary to that if you like. But eventually, all of us come to glory, However many lifetimes it may take, we all come to salvation at some point. If we want to take 1,000,000 years or 1,000,000 lifetimes to do it, well, that's up to us. But if we want to go along with the greater and more perfect vision of the ineffable who resides within us, who is our own higher self to begin with, well, then we get there a little quicker.
Les, I can't even say how much I agree with you. It's like, you have said it perfect. I mean, it's like this breath of truth just blew over me. It's perfect. In fact, I'm going to quote you on this because this is the best expression I've ever heard it said. It's just, I agree with you. I mean, I guess I knew that in there, but it got problem with my tongue and it got problem with everything else. So thank you for that.
When the truth finally dawns on you, I mean, one of the things that I believe happens, at least what happened to me, is that you see it in the simplest and most precise way, and you go, yeah, I knew that all along. How come I didn't, but why? But the fact of the matter is, God, in God's perfection, we screw God up with things like religion by efforts to define God, through anthropomorphic efforts to make God into a bigger us. That ain't God. God is the highest sum total of all we could ever possibly be, working tirelessly to see that we get there. And if we want to oppose it, like I said, feel free.
Yeah, I know in my life when I have learned things, it's always more painful to oppose and go through, but on on the backside, there's a little positive in that. Is generally when you learn a painful lesson, it's well learned.
Oh, yeah. Well, also, God actually loves us when we rebel. He doesn't particularly like people that go along with the program all the time. He also knows that we don't know what's going on. But if he thinks our instincts are right and everything else, he goes, Well, you know, props to this cat because he's really trying to do the right thing. He just doesn't know what it is. But better him than these people that just grind around and around on the wheel every day without having any idea of where they're going, and who never get in my face and say, God, what are you doing?
Yeah, you know, I have, you know, of course, I've been around for a while. I'm 60, so you learn these things, right? So go back to the days of the fundamentalists, like when people would swear, it would be like offensive, right? Just bad. But now it's like sometimes the words are appropriate, because if it's such an outrageous, unbelievable, what are you going to say? Outrageous, unbelievable? You know, things are appropriate, and I don't get uptight. The problem is someone who casually uses words like that, or casually just like a prostitute or somebody just, you know, those things are intimate. I mean, even words are intimate. When you're mad and saying, you're talking to God mad, that's an intimate conversation between you and God, and it's a good thing.
One of the most beautiful things about existence, and which gives me constant hope at all times, which fills me with positive attitude, which makes my heart overflow with joy and conviction in the certitude of the inevitable triumph of every human soul over every obstacle that may be in its way, is that we all succeed. And if we would just let go, we'd succeed a lot quicker. God has got our back. That's the part we don't get. We don't have a better friend than that. But somehow we have confused God with what opposes us. We think God's trying to keep us from having a good time. God's trying to get in the way of us being rich or successful or influential or any of these things. That's not the case at all. God simply knows that there's a better way to go about it. And if we would just listen to the interior voice, we would be guided. And we would suddenly find ourselves in paradise in now. I mean, paradise exists at all times. It's always there. It's simply a state of mind. And that state of mind is dependent upon our utter reliance on God Almighty. Forget religion. Forget all that crap. We don't know who God is and may never. But the thing is, there is such a thing. There is an overarching and interpenetrating consciousness that is in everything, whether it be a rock, a dog, a human being, or an angel. And in each one, it is precisely geared toward that particular vehicle through which it expresses itself. It's like dancers. God is making this beautiful music, but the world is filled with clumsy dancers. But if you can actually hear the music, see, that's the problem. Most people don't. If you can hear it, you can get in tune. You can pick up the beat, oh yeah, and you'll be there. I mean, this is what I've learned. God knows there's been no bigger fool than me. No one has made as many mistakes as consistently as I. At least that's how I see it. But I finally figured it out. You know, I was left with no other alternative. To me now, everything is about the ineffable. Every breath I draw in, every beat of my heart is about the glory, wonder, beauty, and majesty of God Almighty living in me and directing me. Because everything I've ever done on my own has just not been right. But everything I've done according to interior guidance has been remarkable. And that's where I'm at.
Excellent. I mean, this is the kind of stuff I like. But I just got an email from someone was listening. I think it might be the guy I was talking to about the Vegas shooting, wiping off the cameras. So I put the link down in chat room, and I will put it at the bottom, saying that all the cameras were confiscated and they were wiped from all pictures of it. I find that a little hard to see technically how it can happen, but no.
No, they confiscated all the cameras and all recording devices. They locked all the exits. They did all kinds of things. They got all kinds of people coming out now and saying there were shooters in the crowd. I mean, you know, it's, yeah.
I mean, I've been reading your column, and you said a lot of things. Is there anything you know, kind of in a Reader's Digest thing you want to talk about on that, or?
You know, I got to tell you, I've been profoundly changed in the last year or so. I used to have an opinion on a whole lot of things, and sometimes I might have been right, sometimes I might have been wrong. But these days, I don't care about things like Las Vegas anymore. I don't care about any of the things that these people do. I care about one thing, that I hear correctly what I am being told to do, and that I follow it as closely as I can. And everything outside of that is unimportant to me. Whoa, I'm wearing prison orange. Thanks a lot. I got to put like a, well, that was interesting.
That was me. I'm trying to, as we're talking here, I'm working on things, and I hit the wrong button, as you saw.
That was funny, man. That's an orange jumpsuit.
Like that?
Yeah, there you go. I've been there, so, you know.
I was just and working on things in the background, so to speak. But, you know, I agree with that, too, because, and especially the last time when I was in the hospital, or that time, something worked on me as well. Excuse me. And I do have this kind of overview, you know, peaceful time of stuff. And a lot of stuff doesn't matter to me. I don't mean it doesn't matter to me. It's not like I won't vote for something or I won't support a cause. It's just that there's a difference between watching it happen and learning from it, and when prompted, you know, doing your little piece in it and jumping in to the drama and becoming one of the many who are swallowed by it.
You know, we have this thing called the mind. And the thing with the mind, it's like a monkey. It's never satisfied. It's always picking something up and studying it, trying to figure out whether it can eat it, hump it, or do whatever it is that it works with. Because it's all based around appetite and the satisfaction of appetite. And this is the way the mind works. The mind works in its own self-interest. The only time the mind is useful is when it exists as a mirror. When it exists as a silver plate that reflects the sunlight of the Almighty God, which is the all-overweening intelligence of all things, all right? So for myself, and I can only speak for myself, I live in a state that, you know, I find it very difficult to explain what that is anymore, but I live in a state where none of these other things trouble or bother me anymore. I have allowed my heart to swallow my mind. My heart has come up, it snuck up behind my mind, and it just swallowed it. So everything in my mind anymore is seen through the lens of the love that I am capable of. And I am capable of more and more love the more that I exercise it. I used to be able to, like, have opinions about people. This person's wrong. That person's arrogant. I don't like this person's attitude. All those things that bring out the certain reactive or combustive side of your nature, okay? These days, I look at it and I go, you know, that's just me at another stage of the game. That's me at another landing on the spiral stairway. I used to be like that. So I'm just going to love it, because when I was there back in that point, what I could have used the most was love. So now what I do is I look at this power in my heart, this unbelievable power, and I use a bellows on it. And how I use that bellows is I blow intensity and intention upon my heart to love in every situation, in every moment that I can manage it, to just keep loving and loving and loving. And guess what? My love grows. My love becomes more powerful. My love finally comes to the point where it becomes more powerful than any other drive in my being. And God is love.
Let me just toss this up on the screen for people. I'll put the links below. This is what was sent to me about them wiping the camera and footage. I guess for me, a lot of it has to do less that there's so much, how do I say it, stuff that's just believed.
Yes,
now, it could be believed
exactly.
Because you're suspicious, you've been burned, you're duped, you're under a spell. But I don't like to believe anything. You know, I it's not that I can possibly, might not know it in a sense of I can articulate perfectly, but I can know in a direction, and I see so much stuff. I've been doing this show for, I don't know, 2003, right? So I've seen a lot of stuff, and I've debunked a lot of it. It's not that let me rephrase it. I don't like the word debunking. I've looked into it for myself with my reason and analytical skills or whatever, looked at the evidence, pictures and whatnot, and I'm not convinced. But many people are just believe. And if you believe the party line or you believe the opposite of the party line, you gotta have some kind of analytical skills on it. You gotta know. You gotta know it. I mean, to me, the word gnosko in Greek is a knowingness that's like inside. You know it. It's part of your bones, type of thing. And when it comes to these things that are happening, we know something was wrong. We know that's a nefarious purpose other than the one stated. There's evidence of all kinds of problems, right? And so that's kind of as far as I go on a lot of these things, because how do I know if they did this or that? Some guy broke in, there were extra guys. We don't know it. It's possible. It's probable. It's not what they say, though. That's kind of where I stop.
James, I try only to speak from experience, okay? And that's all that I can do. And what I have experienced is that there is no greater power than love on earth. Now, it's true. It's important to question things. It's important to say, maybe this is well, what about that? Or all the questions that might come to mind about this or that. Fine, and I will understand that. But in my personal experience, God knows everything. I know nothing. God knows everything that I personally need to know anytime I need to know it. And when I need to know it, God tells me. It just appears in my mind, and I suddenly know that this is so. So I am a very simple person now, and I am aging. I am getting older, okay? And what is it that Yogananda said, and I'm sure I've said this before, if you do not look for God in the springtime of your life, he will not be there in the winter. Well, I looked for God in the springtime of my life with as much intensity, and through all of my life I have done this. Regardless of all the mistakes I've made, I have been looking for God all along, okay? And I was in Italy, I don't know, about 8-9 years ago, and I was standing in this room, and the Ineffable came into my mind, and he said, "Hey, Visible, I'm here." I said, "Yeah, okay." He said, "No, I'm here." And I said, "Right, but," he went, "Don't you remember that quote by Yogananda?" And then he repeated it to me, and I went, "Yes." He said, "Well, I'm here. It's not the winter yet, Visible, but I'm here." And I just broke down into tears. I just lost it, man. I was just overcome. Because he was saying, if you're not here, if you don't look for God in the springtime of your life, he won't be there in the winter. And God showed up and he said, "Hey, I'm here now." And since that time, I don't really have that much to say anymore. I know I keep writing and doing all those things, but I don't really know very much, and I don't really care very much about all these things everybody's all worked up about. All I care about is serving as I go. I go into a shop, I see everybody's there that's working. They don't like their jobs. I try to put a little sunlight in their lives. I catch people in the aisles. I see people on the street. I try to extend to them some small portion of what's been extended to me. And I'm just grateful for that. I recognize, that I'm never going to know enough. I'm probably never going to be enough. But I'll do what little I can do in the moment, every moment given to me. Because the whole of life is a series of consistent opportunities to do something nice. And that's all I know how to do anymore.
That's wonderful, Les. It's well put. And what I found is I've gone through and talked to people, I have found that the people who really have had an encounter with Ineffable sound just like you. When you get that joy which passes all understanding, You don't jump up and yell and wonderful. It's so overwhelmingly, awesomely, amazingly, overpoweringly, wonderfully, beautifully loving, beyond amazement. All you could do is just like cry. Cry with a humbleness and a knowingness that you're going to get me crying because it's so amazing that it's overwhelmingly good.
Yeah.
It's like it's so, you don't know how to. It's just overwhelmingly, and it's a wonderful thing. And
I'm just so grateful.
I've done Bible study over the years and whatnot, but when I started to get into the greater words, what the words mean in a greater the depth of the Greek and Hebrew, the Bible doesn't really say. Jesus didn't say, "Go ye therefore and teach all nations," making them fundamentalists. It says, "As you go, just as you go through life."
Exactly.
Be what I taught you. That's it. So you're doing the great commandment there, Les, and it's a beautiful thing.
If people want to serve God or even find God, then they should go through life as if they were God. And I don't mean assuming that you are the be-all and end-all, because you're not. But just imagine that God lives in you and is expressing through you and wants to heal and wants to bless. And wherever you go, extend that charity, that goodness, that compassion in whatever way that you can. I can't tell you how many times in recent memory, since I've learned how to forget myself, that I've been of great use to other people. It's just been, I see it and I go, oh, wow, how could I have been so blind for so long? Life is nothing, like I said, but a series of opportunities to serve, to do something wonderful. And as soon as you forget yourself, as you stop thinking about yourself and all those petty concerns you got, which are completely unimportant in the first place, as soon as you forget that, man, Jesus, it's bliss, it's joy, because joy exists in the forgetting of yourself. Remembering yourself and thinking about all that picayune stuff that's all your self-concern, that's a prison. You might as well be in a cell. But when you forget that, there are no longer any bars encasing you. You're free. You're literally free.
It's when you say things like this, I'm not going to sit here and do it, but when you say stuff like this, what you're saying is so many little, how if you read, I'm skipping around, if you know how you read on an internet article, you have the little footnote, you click on it to another link, that kind of deal. As you're talking, all these little phrases would be linked and be linked up to various holy words. It's like you're talking them like you're making a sentence. I'm going to go to get a drink of water, and inside of that, it's all this stuff has been linked out and you're only living what's been taught, only you're actually doing it. It's actually what it was taught, not all these other peripheral things. That's a good thing. I've known you now for quite a while. You're the longest recurring guest that I've had by years, right? And I've seen your metamorphosis. I've seen your different emotions and the things you've been with, and at some point along the way, something happened to you. So I could be a witness to that, and I'm happy. I'm happy for you, Les. I give you a big old hug, except you're a little too far away.
I consider myself one of the luckiest men on earth. I'm so fortunate. There's nothing I want. There literally isn't anything I want except to be of service. If I can do something useful, it just charges me up. And every day I get up and I go to the little things that I do, and I recognize right livelihood according to the Buddhist Eightfold Path. And I just think, well, I'm on my way out of here now. The times when I was in the fullness of my life, those moments have passed. Now I'm in that reflective period. And more and more as each day comes, my attention is more and more upon the Almighty. I walk outside of my house here, not my house, but where I live, and I think Lord Vivis Vaughn, who is the sun, and I think Lady Tara, who is all the green foliage and the beauty and power of nature. And I thank my Lord Ineffable, who's everywhere. And I ask for guidance, and I think, how many other people have that wonderful privilege that I've got? I go out and sometimes I walk through a food court, or on rare occasions I'm in a restaurant. I don't see anyone saying grace. I say grace. I mean, I don't do it in an ostentatious way, but I certainly bow my head and thank God for the blessing of being able to eat, because there are times I didn't have anything to eat. And, I walk sometimes in large gatherings of people, and I'm standing there and I'm watching everyone, I'm watching them come and go. And I don't see anyone else watching them come and go. What I see are people running hither and yon, fulfilling their appetites, their minds filled with dreams that never will be fulfilled, their passions driven by desires that they should only be so lucky they don't get a chance to fulfill them. And my mind's completely empty. There's nothing there, except gratitude to the Ineffable, who made it possible for me to feel the way I do. And, I really can't add any more than that. I'm just so profoundly grateful. And I keep being grateful all through the day. And now I have dreams. I go to bed at night. I have the most incredible dreams, and they're so intensely symbolic, and they're in 1080, high definition and all of that. And it's like God just giving me entertainment, just looking out for me. He just finds all these different ways to show me that he loves me. And because my eyes are open, I'm seeing it, and I just feel sorry for everyone else who does not have this, I only wish they did. And they could if they would search, if they would go through the trouble and take the time that it takes, if they would just try to remember the Ineffable in every moment of their life. Very soon, the Ineffable is going to show up, because we are in a great apocalypse. We are in a time of revelation. We are in a time where God has never come so close as he is to life. There's 7 billion people here. This is a huge summing up. It ain't by accident. This is the time when, if there ever were a time that you should seek your author, this is the time, because the quantum leaps that are possible in consciousness, there has not been a time like this in at least 24,000 years.
This is the latter days, however you want to describe it. And one of the things I've also, you said earlier that I was going to comment on, but then we go on, is how things are speeding up. And there is a phrase, a mathematical phrase. I'm trying to think of who he was. He was on our bell a lot with the EMT, or I can't think of his name. His brother's still around, but he died. It'll come to me. He came up with an equation, which showed that time was speeding up, and that around the 2012 area was that 0. Well, of course, I guess it didn't happen. But see, I think that number was wrong anyway, and I did a show on that. But the way I look at it is, time is not defined by minutes or seconds or hours. Time to me is defined by the space between significant events. And as those significant events happen closer, time then speeds up. And I think this would be how I would, I guess, analytically describe this quickening type of thing that we seem to be going through.
That's funny that you say quickening, because they talk about the quickening in Christian mysticism. The thing is, time is collapsing. Yeah, it's speeding up upon itself. And what the ultimate objective of that is the eternal now. Okay?
Yeah.
And, yeah. To me, a lot of the things we're talking about, well, not here tonight, but just in the world in general and people in general, all the peripheral concerns are completely unimportant. What is important is to look within, find the love within, express it. At first, it may be difficult. you are not set up to love everyone and everything you engage in and encounter. But children do this automatically. Pets do this automatically. When I had my dog, when my dog Poncho was alive, I would sit back in awe, thinking, if I only had what my dog has, this absolute love and faith and loyalty, my dog would have died for me at any moment. My dog was absolute. And I was thinking, God, if I only had that. And so that's what I'm shooting for, to be like my dog. I mean,
that's a great, I've heard the saying is, a man is looking for his God, a dog has found it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's tough because in the past, in the situations I was in, the only real love that I had in the relationship system I was in was the dog. It would be the only person who was happy to see me. And it's like I could kick the dog. I mean, I didn't, but I could kick the dog and then pet him, and then he's happy.
Yeah.
It is a very good model to learn from.
Yeah, an analogy. I have actually learned that now. So I try to approach the ineffable as a dog approaches me. I have no idea what my master's doing. I can't understand all the implications of his judgment and decisions, but I know he's right. And whatever he decides is perfectly fine with me. And I'm going to go along with the program. I spend my life not going along with the program, okay? And I had so many opinions because I'm a highly intelligent individual. And I can say that, without that in the slightest being arrogant. I am, very intelligent. And my intelligence was my downfall in a way because I knew too much. I thought and I didn't know shit, And so as a result, I've learned humility has come to me in the process of existence. And I now know I just want to listen. And if I can be useful, oh my God, an opportunity to be useful, that's a big deal to me.
Get less visible, more useful.
More useful, right.
Somebody in the chat room said Terrence McKenna. That's what I was talking about in the Time Wave. Time Wave Zero was his writings. I think he was probably onto something, but again, no man knoweth the time or hour, but we can tone a season, and boy, the season is upon us. So
Terrence is a great guy. He really was.
Yeah.
He did the best he could.
I in general, that's why I look back at my life and the problems that I've had or the problems that I've gave people. Someone asked me, what would you do different if you go back and live your life again? Well, the problem is, if you go back, you don't have the wisdom that you learned on the journey here. So my answer to it is, if you go back again, I would do the same thing again, because I don't have the knowledge of it. I mean, referring to like this particular life. You have to look back and go, you know what? Did I ever know the right thing and not do it? I mean, like in a big sense. Like, I shouldn't kill this guy, but I'm going to kill him anyway or whatever. And, I can't say that I actually did, but I've made many, many mistakes. And in retrospect, what I thought was right wasn't, and so on. But most people that I've come across pretty much do the best they can. Not like the evil one, guys. I'm talking about just, Joe Schmoes. And some avoid getting into position to even figure out what the best thing is, and they just avoid it. So that's not good.
Yeah. I fumble for words. I try to find the way to be as articulate and precise as I can be. And I come up wanting because I can't. But I can say this. At some point in some lifetime, no matter how many lifetimes anyone may have lived, they are going to come to the point where they profoundly know that they don't know anything, but that someone does. And it probably happens very close to the point of their coming into contact with this entity that knows it all. And at that point, a relationship develops. Now, I was fortunate enough that happened to me. And even though decades went by when it was a one-sided conversation, now it's a two-sided conversation. And now recently, it's actually happening in real time. And so all I can say to anyone out there who's searching or who's trying to find meaning in their life is to look within. You can read a lot of books. They'll tell you a lot of stuff. You can meet a lot of people that'll also tell you a lot of stuff. But what you're going to find that most profoundly affects you is going to be interior. And it's all going to be an after effect of experiences that you have, things you go through, and how you come to finally analyze them in the context of whatever value system you've developed. And once you've got that going on, nothing else really matters. And to me, I'm not concerned about, whether, some catastrophe is going to hit the world. I'm not concerned about, some invading army. I'm not concerned about the Sodom and Gomorrah that this world is presently turning into. What I'm concerned about is how I carry myself in it. And that's the best that I can do. I don't have answers for all these questions people have, and most of the questions people have are all self-interest questions in the first place, and those don't interest me, But if they're interested in their spiritual welfare and improving themselves, it's real simple. Just love. And if you find it difficult to love those that you have been unable to love before or been unable to be compassionate and kind toward, start to think about who it is that you do love, okay? And transpose that person's persona upon all these other people and love them as if you were loving this other person that you indeed do love, okay? And sooner or later, the power of that love will become so overwhelming in you that you won't have the strength to go contrary to it. You'll do the right thing whether you like it or not.
I just was reaching down, just as she's not, to check the speed of my fan for the computer, and then it stopped. I was like, "Good, got caught." No, unless you're saying just wonderful stuff. I mean, you know what? Sometimes we need to hear it said by someone else, I think, because stuff comes from the inside out, and then it comes from the outside in, and then that's just kind of a nice thing when that happens. So sometimes it's good to hear it, even though you may have said it 100 times, a million times. That millionth and oneth is still good to hear.
Yeah, well, you got to keep saying it. If you have to say something, it might as well be that. And if you have to do something, it might as well be that. I mean, you got a lot of options about how you behave and how you speak. But for me, I've never found acting with love, compassion, and understanding to have proven to be the wrong course.
Somebody sent me a chat, an email. Dave, be the person your dog thinks you are. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what we talked about earlier. But so I'm wondering. So I'm getting from your shift, and other people, myself, and other people who are getting their own shifts, whatever, that we're shifting into watching all this happen. Like, it seems like we're kind of watching the big slide. It's like we're in a roller coaster coming down, watching the area around it. And so obviously love is an answer, right? I think another thing to say is don't get pulled in, don't get mad, don't hate, all this. I imagine that part would be you're coming down this roller coaster, the answer is love, but the roller coaster by design is meant to be fear, and we're on this roller coaster. So if you're talking to somebody, and you probably are, who has getting freaked out by things around the world, it doesn't have the years of study and experience, or at least the realization of it, probably has years, it doesn't even realize it. What would you say to that person to kind of like encourage them, other than just something obvious like, well, God is good or whatever,
Every case is different.
Right.
And everyone I run into, I wait and see how they respond. And as they respond to me, it impacts inside me like a hand on a drum. That resonates to the one who guides and informs me. The one who guides and informs me then tells me what to say or how to act. And the one who informs and guides me has already set that situation up in the first place, has already arranged that encounter. Nothing's random in my mind. There are no coincidences. There are no accidents. So I simply take my time. What would I say to them? Every situation is different. I take from what they say, I send it back to the one who gives me the words to speak. And I do that. Yeah.
Well spoken, because what I asked for was a somewhat large umbrella generic answer, and the reality is that God doesn't do those kind of things. He's one-on-one. So if somebody was talking to you, you bring it up to God, God responds, you respond to them. It's a perfect kind of a loop rather than some clever word. So I agree.
Yeah,
Actually, I'm standing corrected in a way because of there isn't an answer. There are answers, and they're specific for individuals.
The people that operate like that, who have a generic one-size-fits-all sort of thing, are quite often charlatans and mountebanks. They might be speaking the truth, but there's no integrity in the things they say. And it's certainly not directed to the specific needs of the individual they're talking to. For instance, you can take 10 people and have each of them say, God is love. But only the one who really understands that God is love and knows what that means, only their words are going to have any impact. It's like people, you know, I hate to criticize, but let's say Marianne Williamson's a good example, or any of these New Age individuals. They got the rap down, and they go out in front of thousands of people, and they say all this wonderful stuff, but it's like junk food, okay? If you go out to some of these places and you buy some junk food and you eat it, well, Eckhart Tolle comes to mind too, and you get this junk food and you eat it, you're hungry half an hour later. But if you get a real satisfying food, you're not hungry for a while, okay? Because that has actually satisfied the need you came there to fulfill. So these people come to a lot of these talks, and I've heard this constantly from people who have actually attended these talks. And they say, but I felt so incredible while I was there. It just lifted me up. I mean, and everybody else was sitting, you know. They said, but I walked out of there, and 20 minutes later, I just felt empty. I felt like I didn't actually get anything. And that's how it works, okay? Yeah, they can pump you up real good in the short term. But are they leaving you with anything lasting? Very unlikely. You know, but the people who do leave you with something lasting, they don't have a big persona. They don't have some enormous website and all kinds of people are coming around. They're hard to find, actually. Did you find someone with some integrity and some real, you know, spiritual presence? Yeah, gotta locate those people. They're few and far between. I know this from having spent a lifetime looking. There's a lot of people out there very successful at this sort of thing. Your Deepak Chopras and the rest of them. They know all these words. They've studied them. They've heard from all these other people. They go out there. They've talked to 1 million people already. Dalai Lama's another with his $60,000 Rolex on his arm who only hangs out with celebrities. You know, and yet it's disgraceful that I would say something negative about these people. But according to my internal indwelling presence who tells me otherwise, I'm not wrong about what I'm saying. And these people, they exist for the masses, who the masses themselves don't even care. They go out and makes them feel good for a little while, just as if they went to play laser tag or bowling or they went to a movie. And they leave and that's it. But some of us are looking for some everlasting value. Some of us are looking for something that persistently continues in our existence. And for those who are, there are such individuals in this life. And when they say something to you, it's like a depth charge, you know? They drop these, excuse me, they drop these depth charges into the ocean of your subconscious. And it goes down 100 feet, 500 feet, 1,000 feet, and then boom, it goes off. Could be 2 weeks later, could be a year later. But they put an investment in you, and that investment is going to pay off. And you didn't have to pay them a dime for it. They weren't asking for anything from you. They already had everything there is. There's nothing you could give them. They were there to give to you. But in this world, and especially in these times of materialism, everything is skewered around, you know, in the wrong direction. I don't want no part of that.
Going back to what you said about the not having real food and it left you empty or hungry. Part of it's by design because you keep coming back because you get a little itch and you keep coming back and you keep coming back. Oh, by the way, why don't you leave some money here? And here's somebody who gave this to the church and they're special. And here's somebody who does something for the church, you know. So it's been around forever. And it'll be here till the end. And now, what about the concept of lining up consciousness so that the so-called end, the so-called change that's going to happen is because of a critical mass of people who have their piece of their cosmic or conscious puzzle, that when the reason why things are speeding up is because more people are ready, let's say, and then that wave will push things over. Or is that just being, again, too kind of simplistic or a model-driven answer?
Well, it's making it complex, and I don't really have an answer for that. I don't really concern myself with what other people say or do, and I don't concern myself with answers that are going to reach any wider margin of people. I see things in a sort of time-lapse photography way, okay? I see things in terms of investments. You put in $5 here, $10 here, but let's take that and transliterate it into, like, you know, something else, energy, effort, whatever. And further down the road, it all pays off. But it's a different kind of bank. It doesn't have a brick and mortar presence here on this planet. You're talking more about, you know, like infrastructure and whether there are any, like, you know, ideal answers. Everything's specific to the point. There is no general way of dealing with any of that. That's why there's so many religions in the first place, because all of these religions are tailored to the cultures in which they happen. They're all dealing with the same God, but they're done in such a way that they can make sense to the people experiencing it in the culture in which they reside. So, you know, for me, I'm not really concerned if I could reach the whole world. I mean, I don't really think about that. I don't think in those terms. I get up in the morning. I go through my day as decent a human person as I can manage. I serve as best I can. I try to be useful to the people around me. And I try to have a dialogue with the ineffable, who is my best friend, who is the one I can count on at all times, who is my life, who is everything important in my life, who is all that matters to me. Ain't got a damn thing to do with religion, has got nothing to do with any philosophies or anything else. It's just like some kind of basic relationship, like I'm sitting out on a wharf, you know, with a good friend, and we got a couple of fishing poles, and we're tossing our lures into the water, and we're hoping the right fish is going to bite, you know. Well, I tossed my lure into a particular ocean looking for a particular fish, and I caught that fish, and I landed that fish, and that fish swallowed me.
I do have some questions in the chat room. They're kind of all over the board, so I mean, if you like to take a few here before we
sure
wrap up. Well, one is asking, has he ever listened to Chuck Missler?
Never heard of him.
And YouTube guy, okay. Another question is the resurrection of Christ a form of reincarnation?
Spiritually, sure. But the reincarnation of Christ, I don't know anything about a reincarnation of Christ. I know about a second coming.
Right.
And the second coming, as far as I'm concerned, is not going to be coming with some individual Christ-like figure appearing in the sky. It's going to come in the heart of humanity. The second coming of Christ is an awakening in the heart of humanity for those who have provided a place for it.
It's interesting you say that, because as you said that, what came to me is every eye will see, and every knee will bow, and all this. And you take away the language of the times, like the lighting comes less to the east, and so on like that. It sounds like if everyone just, like you said, does that, in a way, everyone will see him at the same, all of them, Christ, and he will appear in the sky in terms of meaning everyone can see him. If you look at the linguistics of it.
Look. This thing about, God and the second coming and the resurrection and everything, the Bible, the actual real Bible, is written in the human heart in fiery hieroglyphic letters where it vibrates and resonates in the deepest part of the heart. So very few people are aware of it, but it is there in every human heart. And for those who seek and seek and seek, that Bible will finally materialize in the heart. They'll actually be able to hear the words of Scripture spoken within their own minds to them, okay? And it's the difference between being able to get truth from Scripture, because there are relative levels of truth and all, and they're written for different levels of consciousness. Like Christ said, I have one message for the mass of humanity and another for the disciples, okay? Well, there's also revelation. And revelation occurs when you are reading the profound words of Scripture as the living God transmitted through one of his vehicles. And you can actually see the living truth of what is being said in a profound and life-changing way, far beyond the actual just simple literal meaning of it. It's an actual experience, So that Bible's already written in your heart. Just go look for it.
I hear you, bro. Well, you got a couple something you want to say before we part?
Sure. My friends, to whoever is listening here, I made a lot of mistakes in my life, but my heart was always in the right place. And I went through some of the most hellacious difficulties that one can imagine. My body got broken time and again. I should have already been dead a dozen times. I was in prisons, some of the worst prisons and mental institutions and places, and God protected me every step of the way. Nothing happened to me, I got in some altercations here and there, but came out victorious on occasion too, because God was trying to make a point. Here's what I got to say. You may have suffered even more than me, and you may not have suffered as much. That's irrelevant. If you take your attention and you put it on the ineffable, I'm not going to say God. I'm not going to give a religious, demographic to any of it. But if you put your attention on the ineffable as much as you can in real time, while you're conscious going through your day, if you just think about God, try to remember God's thinking about you all the time. And if you keep thinking about God and trying to speak to God, I guarantee this on my soul, in the fate and destiny of my soul, I guarantee this. God will come for you. God will speak to you. You have only to just put the work in. God has no time for dilettantes or weekend warriors. God's not interested in people that just want to play some kind of, new age game or laissez-faire kind of situation. He's looking for real committed individuals. If you can show that level of commitment, the sky isn't the limit. There are no limits. You just show God you're sincere and that you're serious, and God will show you the same, but I would say with a great deal more power than you'll ever manage.
Amen and amen. Les, it's always wonderful to have you, but in these last couple of years, you've been really a gem, and it's great to have you, great to hear you, great to see you. Someday, hope to shake your hand, give you a hug, you know?
It'll happen, my friend. And look, we got an extra room in this house with your name on it. All you got to do is take a vacation. You're a day's drive from here about. And for a driver like you, a day's drive. Come and be my guest. And if there's one thing I do really well, I can cook, man.
There you go. Well, I will do that sometime. I just had 23 days off with illness, so as far as days off go, I got a lot more work to do. But
come and see me, man.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. I want to. Well, it'll be done. It's just a question of all of a sudden it'll happen, and that's probably how it'll be. It's
on my dime. All you got to do is get here.
Okay. All of a sudden there's a knock on your door right now. Wouldn't that be freaky?
It'd be great, though.
All right, Les, thanks a lot. I'll send you the links from this. Do what you will, and we'll talk again.
God bless you, my friend.
Take care.
Aloha.
And I was hoping to get him to do the Aru. Oh. He said aloha. I was waiting for the Aru. Okay, less visible. What a guy, huh? I like him. He, not up next. He was. So, all right. I saw some questions drying up in the chat room. They're having a good old time. And so I figured, well, okay, that's good. It felt like it was time to go, and it's time to go. We will see you next week. Somebody asked about how the upcoming shows and all that, and I'll put something on the website, like a page with upcoming shows. It's difficult because I used to plan these things out weeks and weeks, right? So many times, well, actually, it wasn't that many. I would have the thing canceled, and then I'm like, what do I do? You know? So I got more involved with me talking about my stuff, and that worked out. So when a guest was, you know, I could fill in with stuff that I want to talk about. But what I've been doing in recent times is literally playing it. I mean, I booked up with Les. We set up to him to be on a show a few hours ago. You know, so it's hard for me to plan in advance because of work. If I have to start work Monday night, I haven't been for a long time. Thank God. Probably his intervention in their ear, and who knows what I'll move on to. But I've been able to do this. So we'll see you next week, and we'll see what comes up. I have a show playing with Dr. Rita Louise, which is when we're going to do it. And there's a show way in the background that's supposed to have been done probably 2 years ago. Doesn't happen with a scholar in the Hebrew who has found all kinds of things wrong with traditional translations, interpretations, and I got open with Jeffrey. I lost for his name now. He puts together a lot of books. He's not a big fan of Paul. Jeffrey Doherty. If you run him on Facebook, you'll see him. He's been on the show before. And, you know, my whole thing is that Christianity is really Paulianism. In other words, Paul invented the modern Christianity, taking Jesus and putting his pharisaical spin on it. A lot of the stuff he did is good, don't get me wrong, and maybe he actually believed what he was doing. Jeffrey does not. But still, he's a good biblical resource for some of those things to fine-tune, help. Because like Les said, the Bible is written in our heart, among other things. And when you hear in your ears, you hear the resonance of truth, it could break out a piece into your consciousness. That's how I kind of look at it. And Jeffrey, while we do disagree on some things, he has some interesting points. And so there's stuff cooking. It's just, I got too many things on the same pot, and they're not all there. So we will get that. So take care, God bless, and we'll see you again next week. As Les says, if there is one. Oops, wrong button. We'll get to it. There we go. We're live, you know?